Welcome to Interior Design Diaries. And again, I get to have Molly O'Neill on the show. She is going to tell us all the hard truths about budget and all those things related that we may or may not usually talk about. Have a listen. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Lindsay.
Thank you for coming back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Of course.
This is so much fun, and I'm so honored to be here.
Well, thank you. We talked about decorator versus a designer before.
Yes.
And so today we're going to talk about the topic of money.
Oh, that's a fun topic.
Right. It's what everyone wants to know.
Right.
And they have no idea really. So let's just kind of break it down. So
Okay.
it's easy, bite-sized chew kind of a thing, so that they understand the value of a designer when they're hiring. I think that's the most important. You said last time that each client knows what their bank account looks like and how much they have to spend, which I love. You're like, you know what's in your bank account. Just be real. Tell me what you want.
Right.
That is very, very true. I think that they need to be open and transparent with us from the beginning.
100%.
Nothing worse than picking a light fixture they can't afford if they didn't tell us they couldn't afford it to begin with.
Correct.
Right? We're spending time, we're spending money, we're spending, energy and resources we don't need to.
Right.
If they're just not honest about the budget to begin with. And I think people are afraid a little bit, and that's fine. So we're going to take that, make it a little less taboo today.
I think also is we're in the customer service business. We want to be the yes person, and we want to make their dreams come true. And I think when I was a younger designer, I felt like I could say, oh, we can make that happen. We can make that happen.
Yeah.
But then once you put down the detailed scope of work of what they actually want and how much everything costs, there can be a misconnect. And it's all about communicating and setting clear expectations.
Yes.
But I do believe that it's really important that you hash out all those things in the beginning.
Right.
And one thing is that the client needs to understand that we can throw out some big numbers that might be above the budget, but then it's called value engineering.
Exactly.
Let's pull things out and how can we cut this? Maybe we need to go to a less expensive sink, or maybe we need to not do a built-in island. Maybe we just bring in a butcher block cart.
Exactly.
So there are things that we can do once we have a working number and they know what they can spend and what they can and cannot spend. Then it's something we play around with.
Absolutely.
And I think then the worst is that when we tell them that you cannot afford this and you can't afford add that extra bathroom in, and they still feel they can within their 200 or 400 or 500,000 budget, and they can't because they've done all these other things, and now they want to add something extra, and there's sometimes a misconnect of that wasn't in the original budget or wasn't in the original scope of work.
Yep.
And so we didn't account for it in the budget, and we can't just pull money to pay for that extra piece.
Right. Out of the contingency even. It's like
Correct.
we have to really know the set scope. That's why I love spreadsheets.
Yes.
Because I always say, okay, here's your scope of work. If you are new to the process and your first time, whether you've done it a million times or if you're doing it for the first time, put everything down on a piece of paper.
Yes.
I mean, I tell people in my initial calls, a spreadsheet is your friend.
Yes.
If you want to do a dining room, you have 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 chairs.
Yes.
You have the table, you have a buffet, you have a rug, you have a chandelier. That's minimum.
Yes.
That's before sconces on the wall or wainscot or wallpaper or whatever else you need in that room.
Right.
So those 5 line items of just the bare minimum basics of furnishing that room is going to be X.
Right.
And look at, the retailers that are out there, the unmentionables. Really, put a number to it and then times 8.
Right.
Oh, you want 12 chairs? Okay, well then times 12.
And
so then all of a sudden your budget is now $25,000, if not more.
I also think there's hidden costs that we sometimes don't we tend to skip over, or maybe we're not as clear to the client, or the client doesn't understand. But there are shipping costs. There are
huge.
There's taxes. There's also delivery costs. And then the other thing is, because
installation costs.
There's installation costs. And then depending, I don't know if this has happened to you, is that we will present a proposal of of all those line items that you mentioned, the dining table, the chairs.
Yep.
And they will say, yes, we approve it. But by the time they want to purchase it,
right,
the price,
that's always the big thing. It could go up.
It can
especially
go up.
If it's January 1.
Exactly. And so it is so important that there is a clause on
disclaimer.
Disclaimer
for sure,
that says that this can happen.
Right.
And I have found it is interesting that clients they want us to honor the initial price.
Oh yeah, that we're a business. We're running a business.
Correct.
I'm not going to my friends or anyone I own and saying, "Oh, can you just throw that in?"
Right.
That's not how it works. Like,
no,
it costs what it costs.
It does.
And I think that people don't realize those hidden costs.
Correct.
And nor do they realize that if they just get the table and the chairs and the buffet and they don't get the rug or the chandelier, it's not finished.
It's not complete.
They're not going to have that look.
Right.
So telling us at the very beginning, hey, our budget is X, we have to buy all those things to meet X.
Right.
But if you don't tell us and we do Y, it's not our fault that we picked a $2,000 light fixture.
Correct.
When we weren't told at the beginning.
Correct.
But the more we can gain their trust and allow them to speak freely about their budget, no judgment. Of course, I always tell people, I'm like, I don't care what you spend.
Right.
It's just, it's going to look this way or it's going to look this way. And then you decide what lane you're going to be in.
Yes.
I don't care. It's just, what is it going to look like at the end of the day? That's what I care about, because then you're going to ask me why does this look cheap? It's like, well, because that was your budget and you agreed to this. I told you could spend more, but we needed to be in budget. Or, hey, that was the one thing we splurged on, and then that's a collaborative decision.
Right. And why doesn't it look complete? Well, it doesn't look complete
because you can't extract things.
You can't extract things, and you ran out of money, essentially.
Right.
And because you insisted on doing these things. So it's this balancing act. It's a journey to make sure that we've captured all the pieces to make it complete within their budget.
Right.
And I just find it is one aspect of this design process that can go sideways, and it can go sideways really fast.
Yes.
And I'm actually working with a client right now that I'm so excited about, and we're doing such a great job of working within this budget, and we have line itemed everything. Single piece like you could possibly imagine. And so I think we're about a couple $1,000 over. And so now what we're doing is we're going just $1,000, $2,000 over. And now what we're doing is going back and value engineering a few pieces. And we found some money that we can bring it down to that exact budget.
And I think that's maybe what people don't understand too. It's like, how many sinks in the world are there? Or let's just keep it in the dining room, right? For just like ease of understanding. There's so many dining rooms. There's so many chairs. Or dining room tables. Like, we can find something that's going to fit in the budget and still look good. Like, that's built into why you have us.
So what's interesting about, I've had this said to me, is, well, then why didn't you show me the less expensive dining room table in the beginning? Why are we having to go back?
Right.
So this is a perfect example. I showed my client this one particular sink because she needed X, Y, and Z. She needed these certain things that this sink had to do.
Sure.
And this was the cost of having this sink to do these things. And so now I can go back to her and say, is this really important that you have these containers that attach to the sink, like the chopping piece and then
because it's just more.
It's just more.
Right.
So it's educating your client.
Always holding their hand through it.
Yes.
So dining room, how many hours do you normally ballpark for that?
To do a whole dining room?
Yeah, to design. Everything. Yeah. If you were to say, Molly, come and design my dining room. How many hours is it going to take? Because everyone always asks me that. Can you just give me a ballpark? And it's like, sure, based on history.
I would say it takes about 16 to 36 hours.
Yes.
And the reason and people are, why would it take so long? Because I'm committed to give you 3 options.
Yes.
And I want to give you 3 options so that you can see, okay, did I hit your style correctly? Here's one scenario, here's another scenario, and then here's another. And then what they can do is then pick and choose, because I've done something where any piece within these 3 scenarios, they can pull from.
Yep.
And it makes it as if they are participating in their own design.
Right. I love it because when you show them one, right, giving them multiple options, the meeting's over. What if they hate it?
Right.
Right. So the 3 options really allows you to, 1, know if you're nailing it.
Right.
2, finesse what you are going to be doing later and selecting for them. And you're getting more feedback on 3 different rooms, essentially.
Yes.
So you can perfect it as you go.
Yes.
And each time they give us feedback, it's so great because we're really learning things. We're not getting in our ego like, oh my God, she didn't pick my chair.
Right.
Or, oh, she didn't pick the rug. I'm like honing in on, oh, she really liked that. Or, oh, she said this. And I'm constantly turning to get my next selections like nailed.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's more information, just like the questionnaire we talked about before, where it's just more information gathering and we're perfecting it.
Right.
That's why the more you work with one client, the better it goes as you go through the different phases or rooms or spaces. And it's easy.
Streamlined because you are familiar and trust, and you're familiar with what their style is.
Right. So then people say, okay, so it's going to take you 16 to 36 hours. What if I just want one option? And that's just, to me, I would say no. I need to give you I can give you 2 options, but I need to give you more than one.
So this is where I think is a big red flag for me, is I finally realize I have a process, and I have to stay within that process. I cannot be managed by the client, because I have found and this is what I'm so excited about, is that I've had so many great learnings within the years that I have owned my own business. And we could do a whole little podcast on that alone. Yeah. But I find that there's been these learnings that I've been taking with me. And one huge one is staying true to my process.
Yes.
My process is the due diligence, and is getting to know my client, getting to know the true scope of work, getting to know what their budget is, getting to know what is it that it's going to take to make this project happen. And then going to schematic and giving them those 3 options. Right. I do not do a la carte. Right. I do know of some designers that do that, but I just personally can't. Right. I just am now I guess I've gotten black and white as the years have gone, that I need to stay within this process. And then from there, we go into design development, so they can take their plans and they can hand it over to a contractor to hang the wallpaper, do the paint, do the tile, do the lighting, and all the we've given them the instructions on how to install the finishes. Right.
I just find that the more we give them license to tell us what we want to do from the get-go of how much things are going to cost,
yes,
it's a red flag.
Yes.
It's like, you're hiring a designer. Yes. You know you need to.
Yes.
You can't haggle. Like you don't go to any luxury brand ever.
Right.
And get a discount.
Can you imagine?
We're not on sale.
We go to Louis Vuitton and say, well, what is it that you actually bought that bag for?
Can I have 5 less quality control checks, and can you give it to me for under $1,000? Like,
yes.
That's not how it works.
Right.
Especially when you're dealing with someone's like creative intellectual property.
Right.
Like, that's just not what you do.
Well, I think, with my situation now having this retail shop is I have curated some pieces and I have really well thought out.
And it is beautiful.
Well, thank you. And I've really looked at the furniture that I'm bringing in and working. I just got back from Vancouver, looking at a manufacturer up there. And I feel really passionate about the people I work with.
And you're very loyal. That every design,
and then I'm going to sell to my clients.
Right. You have to believe in the product.
I have to believe in the product, and I do buy it for a certain amount, and I can get it at a wholesale.
Yeah. So let's touch on that a little bit, because I think that goes back to pricing. I think designers are typically paid wholesale plus markup.
Yes.
Whether that markup is 30%, 40%, 25%, whatever it is.
Yes.
I'm 35%. What are you?
So for me, it's a little. So when I had my design studio in Del Mar, I would say we always will give you less than what you would find it on the internet. So
exactly.
I would not. I didn't tell them 35, 20 because each piece was different,
especially with lighting and tile.
Right. It was all over the board. Just because I had certain discounts over here and I had certain discounts over here, and so it wasn't across the board that it was 10% or 35%. But now that I have my own storefront, that I'm brought in furniture and I've made those minimums and I'm considered a stocking dealer.
Vendor. Yeah.
That I get the true. So I'm right there with the Pottery Barns and the West Elms.
You get the best deal.
I get the best deals. And so Pottery Barn doesn't tell you what they bought it for.
Right.
I am not going to tell you what I bought it for.
Right. Well, and I think that's so let's touch on that a little bit.
Yes.
So we are running a company.
Yes.
And we are buying goods and services.
Correct.
We are buying them at a wholesale cost.
Yes.
Then we're charging our markup.
Yes.
It is no different than you going to the grocery store.
Well, okay, so there's two things. I think where people are confused. There's a markup the word markup is one word. And then there's this word that is manufactured suggested.
MSRP.
Suggested price.
Retail price. Yep.
So I'm going to always sell it to the manufactured suggested
MSRP.
SRP, right. Manufactured suggested retail price. Within that price, depending on the contract that I've signed with that contractor, I might have some wiggle room to bring it down a little bit.
Right.
But it is there is no negotiating. If I set a price,
that's what it is.
That is what it is, unless we are running a special or a sale. If they want to then buy something and they want to hire us to do the interior design, they are two separate entities.
Animals. Yep.
We do not throw in our design. If they buy a sofa or they buy a whole set of furniture for a room, we still charge them
time
for our time.
Separate. And it's above and beyond.
Yes. And I've been accused of that's
double dipping.
Right.
That's
and it is not
a big topic.
It is not
Definitely
dipping.
not.
Because it is one thing to purchase the furniture and all the logistics it takes to coordinate and get that furniture to that house.
Yes.
And then there's another piece to you are hiring me for my expertise.
Right.
You are hiring me for my creativity and you're hiring me for my experience.
Yep.
And and that is value. That is value. Really, you can't put a price on.
Can't. It's art.
It's art. And you are buying a very expensive piece of art if you
use a designer.
If you use a designer. Yeah. A quality piece of art.
Right.
And so people really need to look at it in that manner.
Yes.
Versus, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you're not giving me a deal on the services because I just bought the furniture.
Right.
What I say to that, then go to Pottery Barn or Crate
Lots
Barrel
of retailers.
or Restoration Hardware because you will get the design services for free.
Yes.
You're not going. I don't know what type of designer you're going to get.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you if that's what you're looking for, you need to hit those places.
Right. Because we're not in that pool.
We're not in that pool. That's not our category.
That is definitely not what we're doing.
And they're not even our competitor.
No. And to that point, if you buy something from Pottery Barn, you're not asking what their manufacturer's suggested retail price is.
No.
You are buying whatever it is you're buying, and that is the price. You are not negotiating with even Pottery Barn or Restoration Hardware.
I have been to so many buying shows, High Point Market.
Yep.
Where
Vegas,
where I will walk in Paris, I will walk in and the buying team for Williams-Sonoma or Crate and Barrel or West Elm are walking out. And so we are exposed to the same vendors that those big box stores are.
And that's what is called a to the trade source, which not a lot of people realize.
Yes.
So the piece that I think is really important is we are no different than someone at like the Pottery Barn in that you don't ask to see the manufacturer's cost.
Correct.
You wouldn't do it at any store. You don't do it when you buy groceries.
Correct.
You're not asking for the how much the lemons really cost.
Right.
And what the markup is.
Right.
So don't do it to us as designers. Like, this is how we are making our money.
Correct.
And to me, it's a huge red flag.
Yes.
I've had clients ask for it, and in full transparency, it's rude.
Yes.
But full transparency to my client, sure, because I have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
But if we're at that point and you're asking for my invoices, to be honest, I should have declined when I saw the red flags earlier.
Correct.
Because if that's the type of client that I'm going to entertain from the beginning, they show signs of red flags way before they ask for that.
We really need to get away from all these misunderstandings that are out there. And because I think that one thing that first happened, Home Depot opened. I remember when I worked for Ross Thiel and Son, when they had just kind of started, they had been opening, but they had just moved into San Diego area. And here's this big box. You didn't just go down to the hardware anymore, but now they had all the finishes in one place. And how is that going to affect us? And this is back in, 91, 92.
Yeah.
And I just realized, God, that is going to hit our industry. And then the next thing that happened were these design shows and do-it-yourself shows and the flipping out show, and then Magnolia and I'll never forget. Someone walked into my office and said, "How much do you charge for a kitchen remodel?"
Yeah,
and I said, "It all depends on the size of your kitchen. It could be anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000." Well, I don't, and I also said, and it could take anywhere from 3 months, 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And they said, I don't see how that could be. I watch all the TV shows on HGTV, and it costs $3,000 to do a kitchen, and they can do it in 3 days. And I said, well, unfortunately, we can't do that.
Right.
And, but it's because it's a whole different situation. It's Hollywood, and Hollywood has pixie dust.
Yes.
And so I've had that a couple of times.
Yes. I had a week shoot, right? All 5 days, Monday through Friday. And they said, we're going to just shoot in 1 week for the HGTV show I did.
Oh, that's right. You did a show.
Long time ago. I was like, oh my gosh, they want me. I said I would never do another TV show until I got called again, probably 3 or 4 years later, to do another TV show. And I will seriously never, ever do another TV show because it was such a crazy experience. To your point of everything's done in a weekend and it costs $3,000. We'll shoot Monday through Friday, and you need to wear the same thing every day. So they could see the progress of the kitchen going so fast as things were going in the room. And I was like, this is insane, like movie magic. And I was like, here we are telling the public that things cost way less than they actually do. And I'm wearing the same thing. And obviously the counters were not installed. Now they are. That didn't happen in 24 hours. Like, that's crazy.
So they watched you do a whole kitchen.
So you design it, and then they shoot it in a week, and they stage it every day. So it seems like it's happening so fast, and I'm in the same outfit. So people think it's all
but at the end of the day,
2 days.
the kitchen's not really done.
No. Yeah. It's hilarious, but it actually makes it really hard for us to have to then educate the public.
Yes.
Why are you so expensive? Why are you
right?
Why
you do it?
Why can't you do it? So like this should be so easy.
Right.
And it's like, well, you walked into that house and there was so many things awry. Your camera can't pick it up. So you do good, fast, and cheap. You can't even have two of those anymore.
Now,
and you don't want to if you're hiring a designer.
No,
you're not. We're not even in the same atmosphere. Not even the same universe.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, I know.
I just think that as a designer or as a business owner, there are a lot of moving parts, and and things cost what they cost.
Yeah. And we're the bearer of bad news.
And we are the bearer.
We really are. There's no way around it.
But we bring such value.
Yes.
And I think we cannot be bullied into thinking that we're less than what we are worth.
Right.
And as soon as you feel that you're being bullied into something less, you need to walk away.
Right. And that's hard. I think that comes with growth of the business too, and being seasoned.
Yes.
That didn't come in the first 5 to 10 years even.
Yes.
You know, I think that's something that you have to grow into.
Yes.
And no, you don't really need to discount yourself.
Well, and I think also because once you figure out what your overhead is, and you need to take jobs that are appropriate to cover your overhead.
Right.
You can't take you can't take these tiny little jobs and think that you're going to get to that point of covering your overhead.
Right.
So you really need to be aware of what jobs you can take and who's going to respect you.
And be selective.
And
leave the universe open to give you those jobs if you've said no to the others, because you know what your worth is.
Yes. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, that comes with time.
Yeah.
Seasoned.
Yes.
Okay, so we hit on most of the money, the big topics of money. We need to know your budget.
Yes.
We hit on the fact that we have a value.
Yes.
And there's no discount. It's just don't do it.
Right.
Don't start off on that foot. Or do, and then we won't be the designers for you.
Yep.
Designers actually have to know their worth. I think that's a huge take home. And that there's markup and wholesale pricing and how we're paid. Right? And hourly. And we set, just like we would set our markup, we set our hourly cost. And that's to do with our experience, our education, and all the things that make the business grow, right?
Do you think that there's a opportunity in our industry that we reword instead of using the word markup?
Right.
This is you don't even talk about a markup.
This is what it costs.
This is what it costs.
Yeah.
This is what the table costs.
Right.
And this is what the delivery and install costs.
Right.
And this is what it costs to come up with this creative design for you, and leave it at that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there should be mentioned of a markup or no markup. I think I feel it's it goes back. I feel very passionate about this. It goes back to what a sofa costs at Pottery Barn versus what a sofa costs
from us.
Right. And even at Pottery Barn, you can go custom because you can pick out.
And sometimes it's more expensive.
Yes.
I've priced it out both ways and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Clients have even told me, like, I'd rather get the sofa from you.
Yes.
Because then I can change the fill and we could have that custom every 3 to 4 or 5 years or whatever we want to.
Yeah.
Or if we have an issue and we need a straighter back or we need a different fill, there's so many perks to having something custom made through us rather than out of the box, retailers.
Right.
There's so many different facets to that whole idea of a custom versus not. And custom doesn't necessarily mean price, but you are paying the designer to get that. Well, we're the vehicle to get you to the custom one-of-a-kind piece and look.
Right. And don't you also love the fact that you can sit in, I do this. I bring my clients to the workroom and I have them sit as it's being framed and as they're putting the cushion in, and we can play with, as you said, the fill and the slant of the back. And I think that's a huge value that we bring too.
It's huge. The question I always get as well is, have you sat on this? And that I love that question because I have to kind of watch my face.
Right.
Because it's like, yes, that's what you are paying your designer to do.
Yes.
Your designer has to be going to the markets.
Yes.
She should be going to the markets and she should be going to her workroom for quality control checks. Like that's what you're paying for on the hourly fee. So we've seen it all. You're not paying us to go to market.
No.
But you're paying us to check your stuff. And if it's something we've sat on, then we'll spec it. I don't spec anything I've never, ever sat on. Like I just wouldn't do that.
That's so interesting that you bring this up because the place that I went to and loved this chair. Absolutely. Just the look of the chair, the lacquer of the base, just
the whole thing.
The width of it, everything was phenomenal. I sat on it.
Not comfortable.
Not comfortable.
So guess what? Can't spec it.
Can't spec it.
You could put it in a hallway.
Yeah, I don't even think I'd do that.
I mean, just for an architectural chair.
Right.
And say, you're not sitting in this, but it looks good.
Yeah.
You know, with the big caveat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then hopefully they won't forget that caveat when you deliver it. And they're like, I can't sit in this.
So then I started thinking, well, can I take this to my workroom and we could reupholster?
We could fix it.
We could fix it.
And you probably can.
Yeah.
That is the thing. A lot of clients buy those big box. Can you fix it? It's
yeah.
Like, well, don't buy it to begin with.
I know.
I don't have a magic wand, even though I'd love to. It feels like we do, right?
Yes, we do. We make things happen.
Yes, we do. Well, thank you so much for sitting with me again.
Well, this was so much fun. I just adore
We could talk about this for days.
Oh, we could. We could.
Yeah, so many things. We barely even scratched the surface. There's so much more to talk about with money. But at least now people are educated on what they should and shouldn't be doing and how they should come to us and tell us what they need budget-wise.
Yes, that's the first thing. Budget and time.
Yes.
I really
And no judgment. And we don't care.
Right.
Right? I mean, do you care? Are you like, oh, I'm out of here if they say, no, we don't care.
No, we don't.
We just need to know.
Yes.
Better product later.
Well, you're amazing and absolutely fabulous. And you look adorable today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I just think this is so much fun. And I love what you're doing with this podcast.
I appreciate you. We'll be back.
Yes. I hope so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to find more about me or my services, check out my website at luludesigns.com.